Hello everyone, it's History Behind the Warrior, and as always, welcome back to yet another Mortal Kombat History of episode. With that said, in today's particular installment, we will be tackling things a little bit different from the norm here. Because whilst we typically talk about the origin, background, and story of characters, with the release of the mysterious Floyd this week, I thought that what better way could we actually celebrate the character's reveal than to do a history of, deep dive and breakdown of the history of the secret characters throughout the Mortal Kombat franchise. Not their own origins and bios, mind you, as they more than likely already have their own history of episodes, but more so the history of those secret characters throughout the franchise, documenting their elusive nature from installment to installment, who appeared where, and most importantly, how exactly did you encounter and fight them, as that's typically always been a really fun part of these secret characters. So we will be analysing each of these elusive figures, how exactly did they play in game, and of course, what was required in order to have a crack at them. Now, I am making this video because I think it's a really fun retrospective to see how the series has changed and grown, and how the requirements fared back then, compared to what we do have now with Floyd. But very quick disclaimer before we get the ball rolling, because whilst I will be tackling secret fights, I shan't be covering secret characters, as the old series of games typically had a combat code and system, which allowed you to dial in a sequence of numbers that would then lead to you unlocking a character. That is something we won't be talking about today, because I solely want to focus on the secret fight aspect of this. Plus, something like that would kind of warrant a video in itself. Thus, we will only be talking about characters with strict encounterment parameters. Now, to really touch on this topic, let's go back to the very beginning, the original Mortal Kombat 1, with the first ever secret fight, Reptile. Now, of course, during this time period, with Mortal Kombat still in its infancy, there was a limited selection of characters, 7 that were playable to be precise, but it's from these limitations on their production, which would actually lead to the creation of Reptile, being not just another color palette swap of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, but also utilizing both characters' movesets. So the Reptile you have here isn't quite the same as the one we do have today. But now I do hear you say, how did one battle Reptile? Well, the parameters were relatively simple. Play on the pit stage with a shadowy figure in the background, get a double flawless victory without blocking, and then perform a fatality. Once fulfilled, the player would be notified with a message saying the following: "You have found me, now prove yourself." From here, you would be teleported to the bottom of the pit, where you would encounter the Saurian. But this wouldn't be the only time Reptile served as a secret character, later returning and serving that role in Mortal Kombat 4, but only exclusively on the Game Boy Color port of the game. Yet it doesn't quite end there for our Green Boy, as he would later return in the reboot with Mortal Kombat 9, paying homage to his prior timeline self. And the parameters are damn near identical. Play at the pit stage, get a double flawless, a fatality, and make sure a mysterious figure is in the background. So it's a very accurate reintroduction of this secret fight, done to damn near perfection, as he still utilizes Scorpion's spear, and is also given Sub-Zero's ice ball. So this now brings us onto our next character here, Smoke, which of course does also mark his first ever canonical appearance in the series, and in human form no less, as he would be turned into a cyborg in the following installment. But how exactly did you encounter Smoke? Well, you would have to play on the portal stage and get a toasty, but it doesn't quite end there, because you need split-second reactions to activate it, and then press down and start to engage the fight. From here, you would be teleported to Goro's lair, where you would begin your one-on-one sequence. Smoke has kind of an interesting moveset, having the stance of Reptile, but also utilizing the toolkit of Scorpion, somewhat paying homage to the original secret fight and the characters that influenced him. Now from this point, things get a little bit complicated with Smoke, because during the course of MK3, he does wind up becoming a secret character, as well as having a secret fight. So by utilizing the ultimate combat code of 10902-22234, you would gain access to him, and even his human form in Ultimate MK3, as well as battle him in yet another secret fight by dialing in the combat code 205205. And coming into Mortal Kombat 9, much like Reptile, Smoke would pay homage to his older self, with the parameters this time being slightly tweaked, as the battle could only commence on the Living Forest stage, and the player would have to press the down select or down back button the second that Smoke appeared in the background. By doing so, Smoke would interfere with the fight, knocking out the opponent and become your main adversary for this sequence, with this fight more or less being 100% accurate to his prior self, utilizing Scorpion's spear once more. Now moving along, our next character here is Jade, having also made her first canonical appearance in Mortal Kombat 2, having a mesh and blend of Kitana's moveset, with the added benefit of being completely projectile immune. And in comparison to her peers, she is much easier to approach, because to encounter Jade, all you'd have to do is participate in any single player ladder, reach the question mark fight, and basically perform low kicks the entire sequence. And if no other button is pressed, the fight would activate, taking you to Goro's lair where you could then defeat her. Now from this point onwards, Jade would become a fully fledged character, featuring in multiple installments moving forward. Thus, she doesn't have a secret fight for a considerable amount of time. In fact, it's only up until the reboot of 9, where she would then return, with the parameters here being just as challenging, as you could participate in any normal arcade ladder tower, but you were not allowed to lose a single fight. And along with that, you had to go fight Shang Tsung and get a double flawless victory and a fatality to activate her. And of course, much like the original, it does pay homage to its roots by teleporting you to Goro's lair, to which you could then battle her, playing nearly identical to her older self. Now, our final and last secret MK2 ninja would be Noob Saibot, and the requirements in order to battle him are actually quite simple, because all you had to do was accumulate 50, or 25 if you were on the Sega Genesis, consecutive wins in a row on the player 2 hand side. By doing so, you would activate this fight and battle the Wraith himself, being a black palette swap of Sub-Zero and having access to Scorpion's spear. Now coming into MK3 is where things would really pick up, because during the third installment in the series, Noob Saibot would wind up becoming playable, but there was still a way to have a secret fight with him, and this was done through the combat code system. By inputting 769342, you would be teleported to his Dolphin, and once again have another secret fight against the Wraith. The next and final time though where he would appear as a secret fight would of course be the 9th game in the series. And in order to acquire this classic fight, you would have to go to the Grand Cathedral stage and make sure that Noob was in the background of it. Once he is, you had to defeat your opponent by not blocking the entire time. Thus, upon its completion, you would get that secret fight against him. Here though, he would have quite a simple and bare moveset, utilizing what was given to him in 9, as well as his teleport. So all things considered, it's pretty bare. And this now takes us onto a very interesting pair in the series, the Chameleons. Now these two are very peculiar in their own right, as they are both console exclusive characters, with the male counter half being confined to the PlayStation, whereas the female half would be tied to the N64. Even so, both are branded as secret characters, but that's not entirely right, because the male Chameleon is actually one you can unlock through the combat code, but is completely absent of a secret fight. His female counter half though actually has two different methods. The first would be through a secret endurance battle, to which would be pitted against her during its earliest stages. But if you wanted to have that clash in the more traditional sense, then you would have to go to Star Bridge, get a toasty, and instantly input down and start, much like how you were able to unlock Smoke in MK2. By doing so, you would of course get the secret battle and interaction with her. So whilst these two are similar in many ways, I mean they share the same name for God's sake, the direction in which both of these characters kind of go are very different from one another. So of course now, this does take us to the present with Floyd, a character with a very troubled history that I've talked about and documented on the channel. So I won't really be touching on that here, instead I'll have those two prior videos linked here and here, but now let's touch on the parameters in order to unlock Floyd, because there are some really fun Easter eggs and challenges here. Now Floyd himself can be triggered in a number of different ways, 37 to be precise, but why so many? Well, considering the influence of Pink Floyd, the 37 challenges are meant to pay homage to the 37 songs on the many faces of Pink Floyd, the album they've clearly drawn influence from with this specific character. So to trigger this fight, you would have to complete an unforeseen number of different challenges here, in an unspecified order as it's different for each individual player, to then get to this fight. If you're currently stuck or currently interested in how to tackle these challenges, I will have it linked and pinned in the comment section down below if you do wish to take a shot at it yourself. But needless to say that in comparison to the previous secret characters I've covered here, this is like an entire Destiny raid, and From Software item reading levels of vagueness. But it's not something impossible to achieve. Thus, this marks the end of the history of every single secret character in Mortal Kombat's history. Now keep in mind I may have missed some minor bits of information here, but that's kind of largely due to the various different ports and different versions of Mortal Kombat 3, dear lord. So if I did so, apologies, but please leave those details down in the description below if I did miss out on some minor things. So with that said and everything covered here, I now ask the question to you of, who was your favourite secret fight and character in the Mortal Kombat franchise? When did you encounter it? And of course, how is the hunt for Floyd coming along? Please do comment down below, as I'd love to hear what you have to say. For now though everyone, that's been it for me. So as always, stay strong, stay well, and good luck on the hunt. Take care.